Hello and welcome. Today I'm going to talk about how Palo Alto Networks make use of AI to combat the modern attacks in today's world. So as I already got a quick introduction, you guys know who I am. My name is Weever. I've been working at Palo Alto Networks for almost 2 years now. And a fun fact about me is that I love cats. And you will see that throughout this presentation, so hope you don't mind. Hopefully we don't have any cat haters here. But let's start. Before we jump into it, I just also wanted to quickly talk about Palo Alto Networks. Who is actually Palo Alto Networks? I don't know if anyone has ever heard about this company before. So Palo Alto Networks is a cybersecurity company, and we are an American multinational company. We have locations and offices all over the world. Our mission is to have a better day that is secure than the day before. So that is why we provide an enterprise cybersecurity platform where we focus on network security, cloud security, and endpoint security. Now, embracing AI. Palo Alto Networks has been embracing AI since back in 2019. We started then with our AI-powered firewalls. And as you can see here in this graph, we didn't stop. We are still making use of AI in different types of products. And you can see in 2023, the amount is growing, and in the future, it will still grow. But why? Why are we actually embracing AI? There are actually two reasons. The first reason is that from research, you can see the threat landscape is ever evolving. They are making use of new technologies, so we also need to keep up with these threat actors. And as you can see here from our research team, Unit 42, last year, phishing and software vulnerabilities were the main sources for suspected means of initial access. While for exploited vulnerabilities, I don't know if you guys ever heard about Log4j, but that was a very trendy vulnerability last year, and a lot of companies were impacted by this vulnerability. And the second reason is, of course, you see it all over in the news. You see the headlines, you hear companies, hospitals being breached, they're being attacked, vulnerabilities being exploited, etc. So maybe Simon the Cat will really like this from Teenage the Witch, but we don't. So as I mentioned, Palo Alto Networks focuses on these three areas: network security, cloud security, and security operations. For network security, as I quickly mentioned in the beginning, we focus on firewalls in different type of forms, so virtualized hardware, but also software as a service. And for cloud security, we provide solution to protect your cloud workloads in the cloud. And for security operations is to protect your endpoints, but also to give a SOC solution. Now, what type of AI does Palo Alto Networks make use of? We make use of two types of AI. The first one is called precision AI. What is precision AI? Precision AI is the AI to aim to have as much true positives as possible. So we want to decrease the amount of false positives. While with generative AI is actually the AI that you've been hearing that has been trending this past last year. So content generation based on inputs. A very good example of a generative AI is ChatGPT, for example. Now, for precision AI, we make use of that in all our three areas that we focus on: network security, cloud security, and security operations. While with generative AI, we have been delved in it this past year into cloud security and security operations, where we have created co-pilots. But today, we're gonna only focus on network security. So, precision AI. Now, what can we do with precision AI in the network security field? Is this long list, but I'm not going to read all these bullet points because it can become a bit boring. So, I categorize them for you in three categories. The first thing with AI, we can prevent threats, meaning we can detect and block unknown and evasive exploits, web-based attacks, DNS-based attacks, but also malware. The second thing we can do with AI, we can discover and detect which IoT devices, so Internet of Things devices, these are sometimes printers, those are cameras, etc. So every device that connects to your internet in your network, but also we can also find out which SaaS applications, so software as a service applications, those are Gmail, Office 365, etc., are used in your network with the help of AI. And the last thing we can do with AI in the network security field is that we can provide IT operations predictions. So meaning that we can provide disruption prediction and apply best practices. Now, because we only have 1/2 hour today, I'm only going to focus on the threat prevention part. And that is, I think, also the most interesting part to hear more about. So now, how does it work? Palo Alto Networks make use of something called inline cloud analysis. Now, let's say we have suspicious network traffic going through your network. It first goes through your next-generation firewall. This next-generation firewall will do deep packet inspection. So the first thing we check is if this malicious traffic is known. So we can do that by checking if we already have a signature for this malicious traffic. And if it is known, we block this known malicious traffic and no machine learning is being done. If it's unknown, then we move on to the next step, and that is the pre-filter step. Here we pre-filter the malicious traffic on the basis of different criteria. So URL categories, app ID, and even some light-weighted machine learning models. And after that, we will send this data to the nearby regional point of presence via a dedicated channel for persistent connection to the multiple data detection modules. Then here from this happens, by the way, in milliseconds. So this happens in real time. We get then a verdict from our machine learning modules. And then before we send this verdict back to the firewall, we also pass it through a false positive check. Here you see the precision AI is coming back into play. So we want to eliminate false positives as much as possible. So that's why we also go through a false positive check engine. Then after that, we will send this verdict back to the firewall. And in this case, we will block this traffic because that is the appropriate action you take when it is a malicious traffic. Now, before we go deeper, I want to quickly also explain the difference between deep learning and traditional machine learning. So traditional machine learning is the following. You have a human scientist that needs to give this module which features are important to classify this output. Let's take the cat, for example. So I will then, if I am the scientist, I will say to this module, hey, the yellow eyes, black fur, 2 pointy ears are important to classify this output. And the output is then a cat or not a cat. While with deep learning, it is different. You don't have any human's assistance here. Here the module will automatically determine which features are important and also the relationships between these features. This means this is a very powerful module. So let's take the cat, for example, again. So the deep learning module will itself say automatically that yellow eyes, black fur, and pointy ears are important to classify the output. Now, you need actually two things for this to happen, for the deep learning module to work. You need very fast processing speed, and you need also a lot of data. And I'm speaking in the billions. So you need a lot of data. That is why Palo Alto Networks has been collecting and is still collecting data throughout the years. That's why we have 10 billion samples that we make use of to run these modules on. Now, as I mentioned, the relationship between these features are also very important. So the data is key in this factor. Now, in the case of a malware, we actually don't make use of deep learning to classify if a traffic is malicious or not. Now, let's go a bit deeper. Our model that we've developed make use of something called convolutional layers. And what does that do? A convolutional layer is a module that can automatically extract which features are important. And we will take this little fella, for example. I don't know if you guys know this character, but it's Wally, I think in the UK, and Waldo in the US. But let's take him as example. And let's say he's a malicious network flow. And we're going to say to this module, let's find Waldo or Wally in this picture right here. So this module will automatically find out which features are important and the relationships between these features. So if we take Waldo, for example, we will say, okay, the red and white t-shirt is important only within relation with a red and white beanie and a guy wearing glasses. So that means that, for example, let's take the cat again, for example. If the cat was also wearing a red and white beanie and red and white shirt and wearing glasses, it will not detect this as a malicious malware, as a malicious traffic, because it's not the same. Now we've talked about what we make use of, so the cloud inline analysis, the difference between deep learning and machine learning. Let's take a look at some examples by looking at some case studies that were conducted by our research team, Unit 42. So the first case study is about zero-day exploit prevention. Here we use 2 machine learning modules, and we learned these learning modules for detecting SQL injection attacks and command and control attacks. These learning modules were trained on HTTP GETs and POST requests. The data sets consisted of tool-generated malicious traffic, live traffic, and internal IPS data sets. And these were the results. So for the SQL injection model, from 1.50 million benign and 1.5 million malicious samples, we only got 0.02% false positive rate. Meanwhile, we got 90% true positive rate. And for the test results of the command injection model, we got from 1 million benign and 2.2 million malicious samples, only a 0.011% false positive rate and a 92% true positive rate. So this is how the scenario looked like. Here we have an attacker and a target server. And then we have our firewall standing in front of this target server, so usually in front of your network. Now, these attackers try to attempt an exploit, but our firewall will first detect this exploit attempt. And we can see that by looking at suspicious commands, suspicious behaviors, and suspicious SQL queries. Now, our firewall will do deep packet inspection and send this data to our inline machine learning engine. That is the inline cloud analysis that I've mentioned earlier in this presentation. Then, in this case, because it's malicious, it will send a malicious verdict back to it, and then the firewall will take the appropriate action, and in this case, it's to block this session before the session ends. And this happens in real time, in literally milliseconds. And these are the machine learning features that this module deemed as important automatically. So here are a few. So it thought, okay, injection meta characters are important, suspicious shell commands, weight of key value pairs, and so on. Now here are a few examples of the suspicion commands. On the left, on the left side, you can see here a suspicious command where a threat actor is trying to send a zero-day attack to an IoT device. And as you can see in the get header, you can see some suspicious command like schmot777 means that you want to get all users' rights to read, write, and execute on this device. And on the right side, you see a suspicious character, and this is a vulnerability that has been exploited. And to exploit this vulnerability, it injected some suspicious characters in this get header. The second case study is about command and control detection. So for this case study, we only learned one machine learning model that learned content and context from a network session. These were trained on HTTP sessions headers, and the test period was for over 4 months. The data set that was collected back in 2019 consisted of 60 million HTTP headers, while 36 million being benign, and the other 24 million being malicious. The test results of the command and control detection is the following. The average false positive rate remained below 0.02% with more than 98% precision. So this is how the scenario looked like. Here we have a compromised endpoint, and this endpoint was compromised by or via a phishing email, or via a malware that was downloaded on this endpoint, or via a vulnerability that was exploited. then this compromised endpoints wants to send user data to this command and control server that this threat actor has. So you can see here in this picture. Now, our firewall will again do deep packet inspection on this traffic and will detect this. And it will send then again the data to the inline machine learning module engine, and then it will receive back a verdict, in this case malicious, and as the same previous case, it will block this malicious traffic from going out further to your network. And these were the machine learning features. It's a whole list that our model deemed as important. So you can see here DGA generated URI, IP address and host, position and length of the URI, etc. Now, to conclude, Palo Alto Networks machine learning models for zero-day exploit prevention got a 92% positive rate, while for the command and control detection got a 98% positive rate. So Palo Alto Networks makes use of precision AI to combat modern attacks in today's world. And that was my presentation. Are there any questions? Yes. I don't know that on top of my head, but what? Oh, repeat the question, sorry. What is the amount of consumption? The power consumption of the overhead module, I will not know that on top of my head, but I do know that's why we do that processing in the cloud, so we don't have to do it on site. So, but I will not know the number, sorry, on top of my head. More question? Yes? So, this was actually the 98% positive rate for the module, so how good they are. But of course, we also have other types of technologies that also still double checks and also prevent the other threats. So it is not saying that because it's 98%, it's only 100% is going through that everything, it blocks everything, but meaning that we have other also still phases the traffic goes through. So this is only one of the technologies the firewall uses to detect and block this threat. Sorry? So, for Palo Alto Networks, we have different types of subscriptions. So, on the firewall. But I would say that what we see a lot, that a lot of companies have a lot of more vendors next to each other. So that is also a way that a lot of people try to always have a backup plan. But I'm not saying that because this module had 98%, that is not blocking everything. But it's just for research purposes. We just wanted to check out what's the positive rate, because it's AI, so you will still have some false positives. But we want to, the amount of false positives we want to lower as much as possible. But you will always get false positives. That is no question. That's no question. No problem. Yes? Sorry? Yes, I can later, this research is openly, so everyone can read into it and go through it. But I will not know the percentage on top of my head right now, sorry. Yes? So, Palo Alto Networks has collected a lot of data all over, over the years from different resources, and it's not only also from customers, but also partners, etc. So it's a very big collection. Yes? So precision AI is not on the basis with image data, but it looks at the data itself. So there's not generative AI. This is yes. Oh, I will not know that on top of my head. I will. That is. So I just give the example of Who's Waldo, but it's not really an image. I don't. Maybe that was maybe a bit confusing, but the image that we got, that I was explaining, it was just to make it more easier to understand. But it's not. We're not compressing anything or images or something. But we do have, for example, for if you want to detect phishing emails, we do have phishing websites, phishing emails. Do have something called a technology called OCR. So we also make use of AI to detect what are on the images and on the website pages. But that is a different topic that I didn't cover today. You have no? Phishing with QR codes. We have to, yeah, very interesting question. We have to see. Yeah, okay. No, because we have, launched a few weeks ago, we launched our phishing prevention engine. So I have to look it up and see if we also have QR codes protection. No problem. Yes? So, as I mentioned earlier, the data is actually the most important, is the key. Yeah. So the thing is that it's, yeah, you need to, more data is better in this case for algorithm. So there's no unlimited data. Every data is important. Yes, of course, yeah. But we have different teams for it. So I'm not in the team itself, but we have different teams that keep doing these tests. So keep research and seeing if it's still a accurate AI. We always keep adding data. So we always keep, because we need to, the technology and the data, it keeps evolving. So we always need to keep it up to date. And if you're thinking about updating the firewall itself, we have content updates that will be shared. So if something happens, if we find a 0-day attack in a different customer's environment, all of our customers will get this protection in a few minutes. So we keep that also always up to date. And we also have big research teams behind this to keep collecting data, to keep researching, to keep training these modules, etc. Thank you so much.